So strategically, if you're going to have a convention and you're going to name the panel rooms, maybe have it match what the convention center has named the panel rooms. That's silly, right? It's a mystery. Okay. I'm thinking of a room. So, sorry about that. Hi.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm late. I'm good. Other than that, I'm awesome. Sorry, everyone. Thank you. Hi.
No, mic's off.
Better? Hey, much better. There we go. Sorry, everybody. How you doing today, Matt?
Good.
Yeah?
It's like a therapy session.
Yeah, I was just thinking that. I was like, where do I sit? And they're like, just sit in the chair. And I was like, cool, I'll have Matt Smurl out, ask him, so Matt, how's life? What's new in the world of Mr. Fraction?
That's my dad's fake name. Thank you. What? Is that really your question? What's new?
No, yeah, what's the latest and greatest? And what do you got coming out?
Well, there's a book called Sex Criminals that comes out on Wednesday, and it's a comedy for comics. I have the first issue at my booth, which is table G01 or 02, depending on where Kelly Sue and I are standing at the moment. But it's real, it exists, it's not a prank.
So
and then Satellite Sam keeps on keeping on, and the new issue of Hawkeye went to press on Friday. I think another issue of Hawkeye goes to press this Friday, and then and I've written 2 more after that, so we're chugging along there. And then Inhumanity starts with a kind of a Karnak one-shot, because that's what people have been demanding. Karnak in the spotlight. I try. I can't. Never mind. That'll get on the internet.
no.
Never mind.
So are we going to see a little more Pizza Dog soon?
Yeah, he's in the California stuff with Kate, who also now has a pain-in-the-ass cat she has to feed, which is a loving homage to the Robert Altman film *The Long Goodbye*, if you've ever seen it. Elliot Gould plays Philip Marlowe, which sounds crazy until you see it, and then you realize it's the greatest movie you've ever seen. But Marlowe has this cat that only eats this one specific brand of cat food, and Kate has a similar cat. So, because I figured if I'm doing a detective story in California, I have to go all in and just do everything. So she's living in Jim Rockford's trailer. She has Philip Marlowe's cat. She meets Brian Wilson. I'm not kidding. 17 or 18, she meets Brian Wilson. and Phil Spector. But the Marvel Universe, so they have like more unstable molecules.
So was Hawkeye something that you approached Marvel with, or did Marvel approach you with this idea?
I want to say they do these things. We do these editorial summits, and we kind of look at like what the next 6, 8, 10, 12, 15 months of publishing is going to be, and what kind of extra curricular events are happening that might influence things and what people would be looking for. And there tends to be a list as the kind of agenda for the meeting gets sent around of like, there's a list of what they call elevation characters, which means there'll be something happening in the world, and maybe now is a good time to, feature this character or that character. And in the lead up to the Avengers movie, one of the possible characters for elevation was Hawkeye, because he was a part of the Avengers movie. Like maybe it's time at that point. I think Jim McCann's book had been over for a few months. I thought maybe it's time to put out another Hawkeye miniseries. I don't remember if I was asked or if I saw the character and thought about it, but I got to write, I did a comic for GQ, which was like the first time GQ had ever done a comic, which is kind of awesome, about the killing of Osama bin Laden. And so I sort of spent, I'll get it. It's okay. What does that mean? So I'd spent a lot of time thinking about the killing of Osama bin Laden, because it was like it had to be assiduously researched. It was they're because it's like real journalism. Their ombudsman called me and was like, okay, what are your sources? And everything in the comic had 3 independent sources, which is kind of cool. But I'd spent a lot of time in that world. At right around the time that particular retreat was, and I started to think about what if Hawkeye killed Osama bin Laden and like a tape got out, And that was the origin of what ended up being Hawkeye 4 and 5, basically, was what if Hawkeye kills Osama bin Laden and the bad guys leak the tape? And that was kind of my pitch, and the original kind of take on the story was like, he's gonna go around the world, and it was basically very James Bond, lots of tuxedos and women in gowns and gambling and hotels and all this kind of stuff. And then I realized that was sort of a story and not really a book. And so I got it, and they said yes, and then I said I changed my mind. Which they love. But then at some point, I just must have been sitting around thinking about Jim Rockford, as I am wont to do, and thinking about the Rockford. I just sitting around humming the Rockford Files theme like I do, and sort of found the book that I wanted to do. So then I had to get my editor back on the phone and like, listen, I know I said no after you said yes, but I would like you to say yes again after you hear this new idea. So I sort of repitched all over again, and that was kind of the Clint and Kate show, and that was I had the take, I had the knuckles and the bandages everywhere, and I knew what the book was and pitched it from there.
Nice. So, so what's like being a multi-million-dollar comic book writer, right? What's
a what?
Yeah.
I don't know. Ask someone else.
But all right, getting.
Just walk in slow motion.
In any case, what I was gonna say is, what's a hard day in a comic book writer? Like, what are the tough days like?
Well, I got kids, so that it starts with that. How late do the babies sleep? The worst case is I don't have any ideas that day, or don't want to do what I have to do. Like, the job tends to be pretty much the easiest part of any given day. It's the rest of the world. You get to sit alone in a room and play make believe. It's pretty easy, all things considered. It's a good time, even when it's hard. It's fine. No, it's always when like somebody's got a sore throat and there's a dance class and and 3 phone calls and an interview that has to be done and that kind of stuff. It's the actual writing of it is just. I try to stay busy enough too and have enough different projects going. If I'm ever stuck on something and don't know what to write or don't have an answer or don't quite have a story worked out, I can go write something else and not lose any time.
Nice. If Marvel gave you the option to just pick like another character, say like, hey, run with this character, do something else.
Marvel would not do that.
in a make believe
we don't
world.
have to worry about.
But what character would you like to?
Werewolves made of chocolate lived in your house, and your grandmother was an astronaut. How much would you weigh? I don't like to answer that question. There's sort of variations of it, like if you could write anybody, what would you do, or that kind of stuff. Specifically because someone is probably writing that book right now, and I'm probably, if not friendly with them, and have to sit across a table from them in a couple of months at a writer's summit and be nice. And I don't want them to think, oh, you think I'm doing a bad job and you can do better. So I try not to answer that. It's a big toy box, and there's a lot of really cool toys. I am, after all, the guy who's like, no, I need to write a Karnak one-shot. So life is long, and the toy box is big, and I've hopefully only just gotten started.
Was the Karnak something Marvel approached you with? Said like, hey, Karnak, we need to have this.
Well, no, but Inhumans was on the list, and I saw right away what I would do with an Inhumans book, and it kind of ended up being what they wanted from an Inhumans book, and that it ended up being Karnak was kind of happenstance, but my first toe in the water is Karnakian. He's got a big head. He knows judo and problem solving. It's weird there's not been an action figure.
So you wrote like the Immortal Iron Fist for a while. What was your favorite part like about that character? About any character you write, like what is it about those characters? Like what is it that you relate with and that you really enjoy writing, particularly about like Hawkeye, Iron Fist, and the X-Men?
It's always different, I think, is the thing, and I try not to repeat myself, or at least in a way that I feel like I'm repeating myself. Everything's different. With Danny, it was like Kung Fu Billionaire was a comic I would read. That's sort of that's it. Like Kung Fu Billionaire, boom, there you go. I'd read that book. What's it about, Kung Fu Billionaire? What happens, Kung Fu Billionaire? Who's he fight? Other Kung Fu billionaires. I don't know. It's low-hanging fruit, guys. Kung Fu Billionaire. Boom. So I don't know. Each book, there's something different. And I say no a lot more than I say yes, which I think has worked out in my favor and made it look like I'm far more crafty and what's the word? Not like conniving, but like career-minded. You know, when you have like a ambitious? No, but like that, like discerning. That's nice. No, but like politically crafty. I'm not that politically crafty. I just sort of I sit down and it's okay. We can move on. I'm just not gonna get it. We can 3 a.m. I'm gonna sit up in the morning and sit up and like. Yeah, so everything's different. I try to find, is this a book that I would buy? Does this idea sound like something I would want to read if I just went to the shop and it's like, oh, Iron Fist. What's this one about? Kung Fu Billionaire. Oh, I'll take 2. So yeah, everything's kind of different. So it depends on what the book is, and each one is different than the last, and that way I don't get bored.
Nice. So you're local to Portland, right? Did you grow up here? Did you?
No. I moved here. I've been here just 4 years.
Yeah.
But like back in the 90s, I had a girlfriend who was from here, and while we were dating, she and her mom were like reconciling their relationship. So I had a lot of long weekends out here where they would hole up in a hotel and like scream at each other and fight, and I would sort of just wander around. So I have these weird late 90s memories of Portland. So then the mid-aughts that I moved to, like coffee people didn't exist anymore. And everyone thought I was crazy. I was like, no, coffee people, because everybody I knew moved here after coffee people, right? Good coffee, no back talk. Apparently there was a big back talk epidemic in Portland coffee shops before Jim and Patty stepped up and took care of business. It's like the best cup of coffee in the world. It's at the airport. You can go to the airport, you can still get coffee people coffee. It's the best part of leaving Portland is you get to go to coffee people. Takes the sting out. It's the only good part of leaving. Oh, coffee people. All right. So yeah, I had all these, or like cafe montage. None of my friends knew montage, but I was like, no, it's the crowded restaurant under the bridge, and everybody screams, and then they give you your leftovers, and it looks like a swan. And nobody knew what I was talking about. So I had this weird, like tourist relationship with a place that didn't exist anymore. But then we moved here. Yeah.
I feel like Portland has such a dynamic comic book scene. Like, have you?
You know, it was like moving into Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Like, Westeros, this sounds like a fine place to raise a family. But that was the thing. We sat down. That was on like our pros and cons. Like the pros, there's a lot of comics people. The cons, there are going to be a lot of comics people that hate each other's guts. So no, it was literally moving into there's a fractious game of whose side am I on if I have dinner here? Like kind of, oh Jesus.
I had no idea.
Yeah, no, it's fraught with peril and allegiances, and I've been accused of things like. Like, I know you think blah, blah, blah about guys like me who make books. Like, what? No, it's nuts. So, it's cool.
What do you appreciate about Portland's comic book scene? I mean...
There are so many good stores here. You guys don't know what it's like out there. I actually, I lived in a town that the stores were so poor that I started to order my books from Midtown Comics in Manhattan and have them sent to me, rather than give these dudes money to keep them alive. Like, I would rather, that's it. No, I'm going to buy my comics from New York because I hate you so much. Now, I had been doing it at this point for like 8 years, so it's just kind of, so I don't like shop regularly at any shop here, but if I did, again, in a battle of allegiances I don't want to get involved in, there are so many good stores here. It's crazy, and it's so diverse, and the different cultures of creators are so diverse and so rich. Even though they hate each other's guts, it's amazing, and shows like this are amazing. We just like walk around this kind of con, especially where there's so many people making their own stuff, not just comics, but it's such a creative place. Like I always feel like when the zombie apocalypse comes, Portland is gonna be okay. Like we're just gonna blow the bridges, and everybody already has the chickens in their backyard. We'll be fine. Everyone's gonna take their turn on the electricity bicycles, and we'll be all right. Fuck the rest of the world. We're just like Bane, you know. It's all right, guys. Portlandia is okay. The People's Republic of Portland shall rise. Like us in Cuba in World War Z 2. Spoilers, Cuba is okay at the end of World War Z. Yeah,
I'm
get
trying
us
to
back on
remember
track
me
there.
this
Yeah.
entire thing. Now I'm like, oh man, where do I go with that? Yeah, got the whole zombie apocalypse. I guess Matt, if you could have a superpower, what would you pick in a zombie apocalypse? What would you roll with?
In a zombie
In
apocalypse.
a zombie apocalypse,
I think
you
I'd
get
be
one ability.
bite-proof.
Yeah, bite proof. All right.
Yeah. Go ahead, take a bite. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nothing. Nothing. Bro, do you even bite?
So being moving to Portland and doing the
I'm
zombie
gonna make sure.
apocalypse
I
thing.
just gotta make sure this is not a. Okay. Sorry. My wife's gonna have to figure that out. Sorry.
Yeah,
I left. The reason I was late, my wife was trying to get my family and my kids in, and she wasn't back, and there was nobody to watch the booth, and we had a big wallet full of con money, and I didn't want to walk away from. So, she was texting, and then sometimes that usually means there's an issue with the children, but everything's fine. I can keep dicking around.
So you being married to a fellow comic book writer and stuff, do you guys bounce ideas off each other all the time, or do you guys talk about the projects you're currently working on?
Sort of. Kel tends to come. Kel's answer is very polished. Kel tends to come to me. She says that she'll come to me with issues of like craft or technique, and I come to her with issues of taste. And I know now, I've come to recognize now, if I'm getting up from my seat to go walk into her office to ask her a question that begins with, "Is it a bad idea if?" the answer is literally always yes. So we sort of obliquely talk things through, but not in any real way.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's, I don't know what that says about, I don't know. Yeah, no, not really. I just don't think it's a part of our process. I don't think either one of us are particularly talky about that kind of stuff. I think there's a lot of head work that has to get done.
Did you guys meet in the comic book industry?
Yeah, well, I mean, we met in comic book fandom. We met on the old Warren Ellis Delphi forum. Oh. Yeah. We met on like lonelynerd.com.
Nice. Just been love ever since, huh?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, congrats.
Yeah. It's a funny story that I'll tell some other time. There's a part of it that's about 9/11, and everybody thinks I'm making a 9/11 joke, and I'm not. But there's a part of it that I tell the fucking story now. I lived in Kansas City, and she lived in New York, and this was right after 9/11 when airfare was very cheap, and there was a particular discount airline out of Kansas City, and I could get round trip to Manhattan on 24 hours notice for $89. Yeah, so it wasn't all bad, was it, guys? No, I said that in Australia, and I was like, and because it was after 9/11, airfare was cheap, and there was like a laugh. There's like everybody giggled, and then realized they had just laughed. They had just imagined a 9/11 joke and laughed at it. But as the economy was collapsing and the airline industry was imploding, discount airfare got super cheap. So we started to date. We had like a long distance relationship, but she said like she had relationships in the city where she saw the guy like way less than me. But yeah, so we started to kind of fly back and forth to see each other and stuff like that. All based on our interactions on the old Warren Ellis boards. As everything in comics, it's Warren Ellis's fault.
Now I was trying to read up on your Wikipedia page, but have you guys worked on projects together? Have you?
No, just kids.
Just kids? Yeah.
Two pretty sweet collabs.
How old are the kids?
6 and 3.
Oh, fun ages.
It's a lot of fun, and they're here. I don't know what they're dressed up as. When I left, Henry was wearing is it Sully or Mike? Who's John Goodman in Monsters Inc? Sully. He's a Sully costume that he's too big for. So like the feet came here and his feet came out of the bottom, but with a lizard mask on. And he's like, "Wah!" And Tallulah was a mermaid that she was making my friend Seth paint her face. And she was like, "I want to be like a tiger." So she was dressed like a mermaid, but getting a tiger. I have no idea what they're going to be here. I have literally no clue what kind of weird Dr. Moreau costumer they're cooking up, but it's a highly imaginative pair.
You gonna do like a Axe Cop kind of thing? Start working with the kids, get some ideas?
I have for years now. No, I've been taking ideas from Henry for a very long time. Yeah. And he caught it. There's a lot of us in Fantastic Four and FF, and he caught something. Because he used to read it to him in bed. And he's like, "Oh, hey, it's just like I do." Huh. He clearly realized, you're ripping us off. This is our jam, and you are putting it in this. I should probably be getting paid for it. So yeah. I have a couple of different. There's a couple character names. Bendis uses him too. Like one day we were driving somewhere, and Bendis calls like, Henry, listen, I need a new mutant with a crazy superpower. Go. What have you got? And that was Animax, and the new. That was Henry created. Olivia Bendis gave it the name, and Henry came up with the power. Now, other times you go like, Henry, give me a character, a superpower. Help me with an Inhuman. What's he doing? He goes, I don't know. He's Apple man. He makes apples come out of apples when he has apples, and he realizes he's staring at a bowl of apples on the dinner table as he's saying it. He just, I don't know, feet guy. He's got feet for. So it's hit and miss. It's not all gold, but there's some gems there.
Sorry, I'm just thinking of Feet Man. And what would just big old feet?
The power with feet.
Yeah.
He's got feet for feet.
Rolling with that. So Matt, what's like being in Portland? Where have been some of your favorite places to travel? What have been some of the most interesting things that being a writer has taken you?
I just got back from Australia. That's pretty great. Anybody been to Australia? It's kind of amazing. I literally fed a koala, a kangaroo, and a dolphin. A wild dolphin. I fed a wild dolphin.
Was this all at the same time?
Yep. No. Yeah. I locked myself in the zoo and just went crazy. But yeah, it's just like, my son and I fed dolphins. All right. They just swam up to us and ate fish out of our hand and swam away. Like, all right, that's a thing that happens in Australia. It's a good day when I see a squirrel, but Australia dolphins are like squirrels.
Are the fans like more ambitious, less ambitious, just kind of a different breed, a little more of the same? Like what?
No, it felt very. It was like a writing festival, so there were comic fans and Captain Marvel cosplayers and hot guys and then sort of writers, and it was really cool. We were in Brisbane for like 10 days, and it was great. And I'm so jet lagged that I've looped around, and now I'm like normal. It's like I get sleepy at like 10 and 11, and I'm up at 6 or 7. I'm like, it's like I've looped all the way around, and now I'm like a square. I came home from Australia, and I'm like, it's still Monday for me, but I'm waking up like a banker now. It's embarrassing. Like I went to art school, man. You know how long it took me to destroy my circadian rhythms entirely, and now I'm like a farmer. Oh, 4 a.m., the best part of the day is getting away from me.
When was your Australia trip? Was this recently?
No, I'm not even unpacked yet.
Off the plane, right over to Rose
close
City.
to it, yeah. Like it was we got back a week ago Monday. So
yeah. So were you at Rose City last year? Were you here?
Yeah, like a day. Because it's my kids. Last year it was like my kid's birthday weekend, so I had a birthday party. And then the other one, Stumptown, is Tallulah's birthday weekend. It's always the last weekend in April, and that's when my daughter was born. So I've yet to be to a Stumptown.
Yeah. Well,
so it's way bigger this year.
What's been some of the favorite things that you've seen here at the con?
I've seen nothing but my table.
Nothing.
It's been gangbusters.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Yesterday I got to go to the snack bar at like 5. That was pretty exciting. I was really psyched by that turkey sando. I had like no blood sugar by the end of the day, so it was awesome. But no, it's been crazy. But I've seen nothing. I guess there's a Batmobile here.
I heard about that.
I'm excited. I'm excited to just take the Batmobile. That's right. I said it.
So have you been keeping up with do you keep up with like DC and any of the stuff that they're doing, or like all the other stuff that's going on? I know there's a big controversy, all that good stuff, and I'm not to put you on the spot there, but what do you think about everything going on with the New 52 in DC?
I have no opinion.
Yeah, okay.
This is not my first fucking rodeo. Yeah. Sorry, young man. Pardon my language.
Yeah. No, that's fine. I figure I put you on the spot a little bit, just 'cause I know there's some stuff going on.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
Yeah. What are you? Are there any big crossovers coming up here soon with you writing, like with Hawkeye and stuff? I know you were doing X-Men for a little bit. I know we're kind of coming into Infinity. Do you help?
Well, I mean, Inhumanity, the Inhuman stuff sort of spins out of Infinity, and then this inhumanity thing is sort of like what Dark Reign was after Secret Invasion. It's sort of a banner. It's not really an event. It's not a, you know, it's a status quo shift. It's a paradigm shift that kind of affects everything. But you know, there's lots of inhumanity tie-ins across the lines. You get to see like how Kelly Sue would do something, and Warren Ellis and Kelly Sue are doing an Avengers Assemble inhumanity story. Mark Waid is doing a Hulk thing, and so there's a lot of things kind of. It's tough because you have to read Infinity 4, and I don't want to blow it, but stuff changes pretty wildly for the Inhumans and the rest of the Marvel Universe as a result, coming out of what's happened in Infinity 3 and 4. So it's the biggest thing I've been involved with, and having done one of the crazy crossovers before, that's saying something. Yeah. But you don't have to feel obliged to read every. It's not one of those kind of crossovers or those kind of events. It's more of a tone, a mood.
Now, do you have to keep up with everything that Hawkeye's doing, like all the other writers writing him in the Avengers, and then kind of write based off of that?
No, that's sort of why I made the book Small Ball. Was he was everywhere, and I started to sense people were getting territorial, and I didn't want to have to fight. I didn't want to screw anybody's story up. I didn't want to mess anything up. So I was like, all right, well, this is what he does Thursday on his day off. He has to go home and put his stuff down somewhere. This is where he goes, and that was sort of the take, was to not have to worry about where he is in all these other major books. Let me do a story about where he keeps his stuff. Yep. And that he still can't stop being a good guy.
So are you available to take some questions from the
to,
crowd?
Please.
All right. If anybody has some questions, if you could do me a favor, we're just going to line up right here at the podium and kind of wrap around so we're not to block the camera here. And please do me a favor and speak into the microphone, as this will, it's the only way they get sound on the Flip TV.
So I was just wondering if you had ever considered doing a crossover between Captain Marvel and Hawkeye with your wife?
I think we've talked about doing the Chewie and Pizza Dog, but I don't not seriously. We haven't, but it's sort of been more of a matter of timing than anything else, and I don't know that. I don't know that I want to put my marriage under that kind of pressure. Or I don't think I want to get into like my wife and I are both pretty competitive. I don't think good things happen in our marital life or like our marital sitch if suddenly we're competing with one another. So it would be fun, but maybe not if we wrote it. She does. I like it when he shows up in her Avengers book. Like it's fun to see her doing me as Hawkeye. It's kind of like the baseball thing. That was not me. That was her writing about me, writing about him. So that like it's fun. It's a treat for me to see him pop up and assemble.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
In terms of your creator-owned stuff, like Casanova, which is the best,
Thank you.
by the way.
Oh no, okay, Captain Marvel and Hawkeye are leaving. Fuck this. Wrong answer. That was the best. Sorry, what are we talking about?
Right. Yeah, sorry.
Casanova.
Right. Creator-owned stuff.
Yes.
Where do you come up with the ideas for that? Is that more of you had an idea for maybe Marvel and they shut it down, then you thought, oh, I'm going to do my own thing with
Casanova
that?
Specifically?
No, just
in general?
In general.
I don't know. Wherever you get any kind of idea from, I just sort of. I have a metaphor that it's like chasing. You're trying to catch butterflies, like in a meadow with butterflies, and you have a stick that's covered in honey, and the butterflies have tiny numbers written on them, and you have to get them on the stick in the right order. And that's what it's like. That's what coming up with an idea is. You just got to get the right butterflies in the right sequence on the right honey-covered stick. And you sit down and you look at your stick covered with honey and the butterflies all make sense. You're like, that is a great stick covered with butterflies. I would. So I don't know. Casanova, the sort of the gem of the what do you call it? The pearl at the middle of the. No, that makes it sound too complimentary. The seed of Casanova started oddly enough as a Dominic Fortune pitch at Marvel, but that was just the idea of like a screw-up super spy was kind of the notion. And they were like, yeah, Dominic Fortune, a character who's appeared in 4.5 comics. Let's rush this one to print. So, future writers out there, when you're thinking about pitching, maybe pitch Spider-Man. Maybe pitch Wolverine. Maybe pitch a character people have heard of. My strategic thinking of, I'll go super obscure and I won't have to worry about continuity. Certainly no one has Dominic Fortune plans because no one cares. So that's a true story. So I don't know. They just kind of come from places, you know? I don't know. And then you just kind of, you sit with them for a while. And I have index cards. I write like things down in index cards so I don't forget them, or notebooks, and just kind of, you just cook it for a while and you catch butterflies on the stick and then you see what you come up with. And if it's worth committing life and, you know, man hours and resources to, you know, you go for it. Otherwise, it kind of goes away. The butterflies fly off.
Hi.
Hey.
How we doing? So, if you'll indulge me, I have one of those awesome two-pronged questions. It's actually two completely separate questions.
Okay.
We've been getting like for the whole weekend.
Great.
First of all, I write comics, and all the time, like especially after I get shot down by somebody, and they say, "Oh, this is not good. You should be an accountant," or whatever. I constantly find myself thinking, "Oh, God, I really should have gone to grad school. This is really not working out." I was wondering if you were plagued by those moments as well, and at what point in your writing career is like, okay, you know what? I think this is the right job. I should not have been an accountant. I think that I'm in the right place, doing the right thing with my life. What that project might have been, or what that kind of, if you had one of those aha moments where you said, you know what? I think I'm on the right track. And then prong two, completely separate question two, which comic, cape or otherwise, do you think would make an awesome movie but will never get made? There are a lot of them out there. There's been talk about like a Transmetropolitan movie forever and ever. It's never going to get made. But like Cape Comics or otherwise, like what would make a really cool movie but they're just never going to do? But then again, 10 years ago, we were never going to have an Avengers movie, and here we stand.
That's not true.
Well, never, but you know what I mean.
Okay, if there's anybody in your life that tells you you can't or shouldn't be doing what you want to do, like cut them out of your life. Like that's
Well played, sir.
I like seriously, like if this is like what you're here for, like if this is your special purpose, like fuck them.
Yeah.
That's you don't need that. It's not accountants. It's not librarians or barista. It's you need people who are going to support you, because it's not a straight path, and there's no how to, and there's no learning. You know, it's just doing and doing and doing and doing and doing. So, first off, the first half of the first part of the first prong. F those a-holes. When did I gave myself no option. I had a very lucrative career and a very successful career prior to this that was very creatively satisfying, until it became very personally dissatisfying. And I, in a huff, quit and sort of flipped the table off and stormed out and had to like sell my stake in a company and all that kind of stuff. I had a pregnant wife. I had a mortgage, a pregnant wife, and I was at that point writing, just for fun on weekends, a book and a half for Marvel at their starter rate, which was like $75 a page. And then I was like, all right, well, I've got to make this work because there's a baby coming. So I just sort of removed my safety nets and stopped being able, like I had no other choice. You know, it was that or I was going to have to go be a barista or work at a video store, because that would have been the kind of genius move I would have made. It's a growth industry. So yeah, I think, you know, if this is what you're, you know, I think you just know if this is what you're supposed to do. You do it. You also, I think you should, you know, let yourself suck. Like, do you suck? Okay, good. Everybody sucks. You know, like that's good. That's great. Sucking is where you start. It's easier to rewrite than it is to write. And the difference between a guy with a shitty manuscript and a guy with no manuscript is you did the work, right? And it's easy for somebody to be high and mighty and think about what a great writer they are and not put their fingers to paper and to put it out there and to like blow. That's the tough part. That's the hard part. Okay, great. Now get better. Like that. Just keep doing it and doing it and doing it and doing it and doing it. And you know, and then eventually, hey, you do it for a living. Somebody gives you money for it. Does that answer the first prong?
Yeah. Prong 1,
You can-
subset A.
Prong 1,
complete.
subset
Yeah,
A,
absolutely,
and
yeah.
all right, and then what was subset B?
Awesome comic book.
Awesome comic book.
Never get made as a movie. But then again, never say never, I guess.
Oh well, I mean the greatest comic book of all time is Love and Rockets, but it's an all Latino cast, so it'll never get made as a movie. And it would be an amazing television show. It would be an amazing movie. It is amazing in and of itself, but it is like a largely female Hispanic cast. What? Yeah, Hollywood's not in that business. So, there's a lot of other kind of more fun answers, but I really just wanted to plug Love and Rockets for anybody in here who hasn't read it, because there should be statues to the Hernandez brothers, and there's not.
I agree. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Hey, I'm a big fan of a lot of your creator-owned and your Marvel work, and I'm excited for Sex Criminals starting Wednesday, but one you haven't talked about too much yet, and maybe it's just too early, but what about your take on the Odyssey?
It's just kind of too early. I mean, it's the Odyssey. It's in space, and all the boys are girls, and all the girls are boys. It's Christian Ward, and the outline is killer. Yeah, I mean, that's sort of it. It's too early. You know, we'll get to it later this year, I think. Although there's not much of this year left.
Well, is there like an artist or anything?
Yeah, Christian Ward.
Okay.
The guy that did Infinite Vacation. But I knew him as a fine artist even before comics. And it's going to be very psychedelic and beautiful and very spacey, very trippy. And that's not a word I like to use, but yeah, but Odysseus, but a lady and a mother. And yeah, I wanted to write Wonder Woman for my daughter, and you know, that's not going to happen in DC. So I'm writing Wonder Woman, and why not model her on Odysseus? You know, kind of the first hero. So.
Right on.
Yeah, and it'll be in sequential order, and during the chapters where nothing happens, we'll check in with the other plays that you're supposed to read to understand what happens in the Odyssey. So we'll get to see the Orestes and all that kind of stuff, and Agamemnon, what happens with all that stuff. So,
Awesome.
But in space and gender inverted.
Right on.
Thanks.
Thank you.
I had posters. I should have brought posters. Shit.
Hey.
Hey.
So about 10 years ago, I was kind of exclusively an X-Men fan. That was what I read. And then as all these crossovers and everything out, okay, now I guess I got to be an Avengers fan. I got to be the Hulk, just so the next time everything comes together, I stand a chance of understanding what's going on. And while it's been great, you know, the Excalibur's getting a lot more profitable as my box going, yeah, check Marvel, yes. And I'm kind of wondering how that process translates over to the writers. Is it chaotic for you guys? Is it interesting for you guys that, you know, have to collaborate more? Or has it changed tones at all of how you approach things?
It's all, in my experience, it's always optional. Like if you want to be a part of it, if there is a place for you, if you see a story that you can tell, like you can opt in. I mean, I didn't tie into my own crossover when I was writing the crossover in Thor.
Okay.
You know, like because it didn't make sense. Because there was enough, it just didn't work. But with Iron Man, it did. So it was that kind of.
Okay.
I didn't tie into Secret Invasion, just because I didn't have the stuff. So yeah, it's always a little chaotic, and the nature of publishing being what it is, that no one is quite as far ahead as you wish. There's always too many question marks, and it is its own kind of set of creative challenges. But it can be very rewarding, and it's really fun. And you know, there's kind of a brief that goes around, and people are briefed on it, and you get your kind of, here's what's happening. What are your thoughts? You know.
Okay. So something like AVX, you and Bendis out here kind of going, hey, this would be cool if we did this, or is that some Marvel going, hey, you guys, could you go do that?
There are a lot of factors leading to that. Just as there were a lot of story stuff happening, it kind of the stories had gotten to a point where the two franchises looked like, hey, look, we could do this now.
Okay.
And it was actually me and Bendis and Brubaker and Jason Aaron and Jonathan Hickman and Axel Alonso and Tom Brevoort and Nick Lowe sitting in Bendis' dining room.
Oh, okay.
And I brought all of the dry erase boards from my house, and we set them up on Bendis' dining room chairs, and we argued about it for 3 days over a big plate of voodoo donuts. And
Right on.
then Bendis went to adopt a kid, and everybody went home. Literally not kidding. Our last day, they were like, we have to go adopt our child now. And my wife and I moved in to take care of his kids. And we drove everyone to the airport at the same time. Brian to go meet his wife to adopt his daughter, and Ed and everybody else to go the hell home. But that was fun. That was like 5 of your best friends sitting around trying to blow up the Marvel universe. It's not a bad way to spend a week.
Well, there you go.
Yeah. But yeah, it's like with the Inhumanity stuff now, like I'm trying to be as inclusive as possible and not answer questions, because I think it's way more interesting to see how Kelly Sue and Warren approach what's happening, or how Mark Waid is going to approach what's happening, versus me saying, no, Mark Waid, you write a story where the Hulk punches the Abomination and like. I'd much rather let Mark be Mark and make me look smarter and take credit for it later. So. The idea is collaborative. The idea is that it's a collaborative, ongoing kind of storytelling collective. We're all trying to grow the sandbox instead of hoard our toys.
Cool. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hi again.
Hello.
I was just wondering, how long ago did you decide you wanted to become a writer, and why you decided to do what you do?
Sure. I've always been doing this in some form or fashion.
Mm-hmm.
I used to make, back during the Civil War, the actual Civil War, not Marvel's Civil War, printers were called dot matrix printers, and paper was like a giant accordion folded thing with perforated edges, and it had these long strips of holes on the side. This is how it went through this rockets. My mom would bring home this dot matrix printer paper, and I would tear them into sheets, but then take yarn and like weave them, the holes together. So I would like smith sew books, and I would make comics.
Oh, awesome.
And I would bring them to school and give them to people, and I called them movies for some reason. I did. It was my new movie. But then I went to art school, and I went to film school, so I've always been sort of telling stories with words and pictures in some form or fashion. It just kind of has been the only thing I was good at, because it ain't math. And yeah, as it sort of has been the career track I've been on. I've been really lucky in that I worked at a comic shop for a little while, I delivered pizzas for a little while, I made websites for a little while, even that was kind of creative. So I've sort of done everything I could to avoid jobs where I had to act like a grown-up. And then I was making comics for fun. I was making comics because I liked it. But I was making like music videos and commercials by day, and then writing like graphic novels at night or whatever. But then I quit that job, and sort of like the only other income I had coming in was from comics. I was like, all right, well, I guess I'm gonna write comics now. So I kind of, like I said, like leave yourself no safety net and see what happens. It's amazing the resources you can dig up. But that would have been 2006, I guess. So 2007, something like that.
Cool. Thanks.
Hello.
Hey.
So, my mother is a writer. I'm a writer. Many of my friends are creatives. And the one adage that we always have is you have to read or engage with or fall into other creative works in order to be inspired to make your own. So I wondered, what are you reading? What are you into right now? What's inspiring you to continue your creative?
I for some reason have decided to relive my 10th grade of English class.
Awesome.
I reread The Odyssey, which is pretty good. I reread The Great Gatsby, which I hadn't read like since 10th grade, and
everyone else this year.
I was in Australia, and they had the penguin, the kind of the orange cover. I like them as pieces of graphic design.
Yeah.
Like, oh, Gatsby, it's kind of the perfect penguin book, right? They didn't have Hemingway, so I got Gatsby. I was like, I should reread this. It's been a million years. It's like I reread Gatsby. Not bad. That book, it's pretty good. I know I'm like rereading To Kill a Mockingbird. So I don't know, read everything you read in 10th grade, I guess. And I keep getting new books. I've got like the new Marissa Peschel, and I've got the new Pynchon, and like these new books keep piling up, but I'm having much more fun like spelunking. I'm thinking about going back and rereading Catcher in the Rye next. Like, go for it. Just steer into the skid. And
well, especially since Salinger is, in theory, going to have more books.
Oh, right,
So,
right.
So that's preparation. Do you do book reports?
No, but I used to do movie reports. I used to keep index cards and journals of all the movies that I saw, with like writer, director, producer, cinematographer, year made, thoughts about it, what struck me. I used to do that because I can write them all off, and I was convinced I was going to get audited, so I should have proof that I'm doing work. But It's easier now that I get to write for TV last year, so it's way easier. If I get audited, I can. But I write for television. It's all right off.
This Netflix subscription makes a big difference.
Totally does.
Are you reading anything in comics right now?
Oh, yeah. Aside from like just the stuff I have to read for homework, which is kind of everything Marvel's putting out. Love and Rockets. There's a new Love and Rockets about to happen. Gilbert Hernandez is putting out 4 graphic novels this year. Nobody's talking about it, which is ridiculous. I like a lot of my friends' work. My wife's Pretty Deadly is great. I like everything Hickman's doing, and the Powers Bureau is great, and Prophet from Image, and don't ask. I always leave stuff out. I'm reading a lot of comics. Yes, I like comics.
It's not like a yes or a death or a yes question. It's just what.
No, but I hate. Yeah, I'm reading a lot, but I always leave something out. I remember it 5 minutes later. It's something a friend writes, and I feel like a prick.
That's what Twitter is for.
Okay, is that what it's for? You figured it out. Gatsby tweet. Sorry.
There was no one in line, so I came back.
Great. We're good.
I was wondering, are your kids growing up to be little comic geeks like us, or are you surprised by the kind of things that they're getting into?
Not at all. Yes, they are, and no, I'm not surprised. My son has started to draw like sequentially, and give characters balloons and things as he's learning to write. He's giving speech balloons and stuff like that, and yeah, it's so prevalent in our house. Like they just kind of, why don't we get to wear costumes today? Like they're just sort of, that's a great question. I don't know, but so yeah, no, they're super creative, and Tallulah wants to write very badly, and they have these drawers at her preschool, and she's been there like a week. Like we came back from Australia and brought her, and so she's been there now, just finished her first week, and they have these little drawers, and they call them their mailboxes, and we went there for like parents' night, and I went and I wrote her a little letter, and I went to go put it in her mailbox, and I saw it was full of letters like she's written to herself. like scribble, 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 put it in her box, scribble, scribble, and she's trying to make words, but they're just sort of like little up and down line, scribble, 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 scribble. So yeah, no, it's cool. It's really cool, and then you can exploit them, and you don't have to pay them, and it's great. I am living the American dream.
Thank you.
Thank you. My wife, my daughter sleeps like Valeria Richards, and that was like sort of face down, butt up is how my daughter sleeps as a natural pose, and I can't wait till she starts dating, and I can show that to someone. She's been in a comic book.
This is kind of a question. I'm sort of coming up with this as I talk, so it might be a little weird, but I know, right? But I just came out of the world building panel. And I was just kind of thinking that, one of the coolest, interesting things that kind of got me back into reading comics, like, whenever it originally came out, was when you were doing the Iron Fist stuff.
All right.
And what I sort of was drawn to is just had this really 30s pulp feel. Maybe that was just my interpretation of it.
No, I was deliberate, so. Right
Yeah, no, and then there's a lot of that, and like Jason Aaron was doing crazy stuff with Ghost Rider in like the same direction. But I guess what my question is when you try and do stuff like that, and I really felt it was cool that you sort of injected the Marvel universe that had been done for a long time, where it was just like a bunch of flashy guys punching each other. But that being said, I guess what I'm trying to say is how do you juggle all the different facets of this giant world that company has created and sort of balance it all out so it makes sense functionally?
Well, it doesn't make sense functionally.
Well, no, it doesn't. That's my point.
So but with that fundamental understanding,
yeah, like how do you?
That it's great. You just don't reconcile it, and you're fine. There's Iron Fist was based on an old Bill Everett character called Amazing Man, which was an old Golden Age character that was based on a lot of other kind of pulp characters, and so with that particular character, it made sense. Let's do a story about this world. This is where it came from. So we're going to make up this kind of secret pulp history. Yeah. It just sort of it was where the character came from. It was sort of the character and all that stuff. And sort of as long as you're not like explicitly contradicting things, You know, like in improv, like in comedy improv, like the first rule of improv is like you always say like yes and, right? Like don't no, but you're not. This isn't a bank. This is my house. That's bad improv. Yes, and I want to live here in this bank is sort of the way to handle that. Like that's my sort of strategy for working at Marvel is always say yes and don't contradict somebody. Don't say somebody's story didn't happen. Don't be that dude. Like it's collaborative. We're all moving forward in the same direction. Iron Fist, if you're a fan. I didn't mean that as like applause here. I meant we're going to go into the bad parts of Iron Fist. Iron Fist, once upon a time, apparently Kunlun was an alien city. He's from a place called Kunlun, which is like Xanadu. The stately Xanadu to Kublai Khan decree, not the Olivia Newton-John Xanadu, which is a different editorial office. But it was surrounded by sort of asparagus, broccoli, alien people. Like you do. Yeah, and Ed and I just didn't talk about that.
It's like the cow scrolls. Whatever.
We didn't say no. We said yes, and we're talking about this now. So like that's the trick for me personally. That's the trick is like yes, and if it's something that aids you, great. And if it's something that you don't want to pay attention to, just don't necessarily contradict it or find a way to dance between those raindrops.
Yeah, just don't talk about all those other mystical cities down the block. This is our time.
Right. Look, I made up 6 others. Yeah, no, but there's ways that you can be additive, and I think I think as long as you're being additive, it'll all work out.
All right. No,
that's my theory anyway.
That's fair because I mean I can just imagine as someone who works and makes their bread off that. I mean it can just seem like such an oppressive environment because you've got like all these secret societies on top of other.
Yeah, but that's why but you'd go crazy, and it's not real. It's like we had a question yesterday about like how does Hawkeye and Young Avengers like fit together, and like they don't.
No.
Time isn't real. You can't impose this. It doesn't work like that. So yeah, you have to grow it and think of it as a collaborative story and not a
Very much is.
not a literal history book. Thank you.
All right.
I think last one.
I think yep.
Nice shirt.
Oh, okay.
She has a Gatsby shirt. Gatsby! East Egg!
Nerd fighters, but close enough. I actually wanted to ask about Future Foundation because I think that's probably one of my favorite things that you're writing currently.
Thank you.
And it's just such a charming world, and it really feels like it's full of love, which sounds so corny, but reading it is like reading a hug is what I tell people. And it sounds so corny, but you feel really
Boy,
good.
you're going to be bummed out when all those kids die.
Yeah.
Because what is comics if not about dead kids?
That's okay, I can switch gears like that. So. I'm also reading Casanova.
Yes, and I'm not going to read that issue.
No, but I just wanted to, because it just seems like you keep adding characters, and that seems kind of like counterintuitive to what a lot of people try to do in streamlining stuff. Right. So like, where did you decide to be like, no, I'm just gonna bring in everyone. I'm just gonna do that.
Well, Hickman did. In fairness, Hickman did. Hickman's the guy who had the FF issue called Too Many Kids, by the way. If you go back and you read his issue titles, one of them is called just Too Many Kids. I had a key inside my FF notebook because I couldn't keep them all straight. And then the numbers changed. Like, there was art screw-ups. So we played yes and I turned that into the kids don't like Scott, so they're all deliberately switching numbers to confuse him. So they realized he's keeping track of us by our numbers, so if everybody switches numbers. So everybody but Bentley switches numbers. It's true. Go back and look. That was how we yes and our way out of that nightmare. Yeah, they were all, I added one, right? Just one. And the Doombots, do they count? Ish. All right, all right. Yeah, I don't know. It just feels like a circus now. It feels like the circus where like all the runaways come. You know what I mean? And I knew I was leaving with the Impossible Man issue. I knew I was stepping away, and I wanted to like. That was kind of my goodbye, I guess. And I wanted to give Mike and Lee like, just in case you need a little something impossible. Literally, this will get you out. So yeah, I just felt like what the book was. The book is sort of about a found family, and lots of people need families. So thank you for reading.
Any final thoughts? Should we wrap it up? I think that's the cue.
I think that's our cue, you
Yeah.
guys. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Matt, for being here today. Thank you for the questions, everybody.